All right, what's going on, everybody? Coming back with another one of the little trading psychology videos here a little bit. And this one is probably even going to trend a little bit further away from trading, but the same thing can apply because you know what? If you're working on yourself, if you're working on your own psychology, the way you approach life, it is going to bleed over into trading as well. So this one, I've been wanting to talk about it, and I've been talking about it with friends and stuff lately, and it's in large part due to, watching more videos on the subject. But as you can see from the thumbnail, this is a message for all men out there, and it's about, taking self-confidence. It's building up that self-confidence and specific ways to go about that and do that and what's related to that. So real quick, I'm just going to jump in and say shout out to this channel right here, Arako TV. Guys, if you have not heard of or watched this channel, go check it out. He's got plenty of videos, and each one, it's this British dude, and he's showing videos about, men basically like not simping and not just bending over and standing up for yourself, being confident, having respect for yourself, and not letting women or anybody else for that matter walk over you and things like that. So just digging in a little bit. Tell you what, I'm going to go over here on the 1 minute and we'll just watch this thing go. But if I'm sure by now you've probably heard it's getting more popular, this kind of thing, whether it be Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson or people like that. And I gotta say, I love the whole movement of trying to build men back up lately, because so much, we hear all this crap about toxic masculinity and smash the patriarchy and this and that and blah blah blah, but none of it really touches on anything important. I mean, nobody really gets down to any of the actual important things about it. It just turns into these little buzzwords and catchphrases, and a lot of it just stems from well, I'm not even going to go that far into it, but you know what I'm talking about. But this can also apply to women just as much. Just, hey, I'm a man. Most of the people watching this are men, so by all means, you can use it interchangeably. But the first thing that you really need to come to grips with is self-worth. And when I'm talking about that, it doesn't have to be what your bank account is or what your Bitcoin wallet is or how you're doing on trading or anything like that. I mean, that is solely going to come from within, because if you are basing your self-worth on external things, you're always going to be fucked up. I mean, let's be honest. Because there's always going to be better stuff out there. There's always going to be people doing it bigger and better. There's going to be people on TV and music videos and movies and all this stuff, and it's going to look so rosy. You're going to see people on Instagram and Facebook where you're seeing these little stage snapshots that make it look like they live the most exciting and beautiful and awesome life, and all that. And most of it it's fake. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people that have money, nice cars, nice houses, all this stuff, travel around, and yeah, that's awesome. But at the same time, I've seen plenty of people that do that stuff and are miserable. They're fighting with their significant other, court battles and all, can't raise their kids for crap. So really, it has to come from within. And so the main thing is that you're gonna have to try to cultivate that. And how you do that, the very first thing is shut off everything, literally from the skin out. Don't base it off anything like that. So it's going to take a little bit of just thinking about it, but not only that, kind of teaching yourself that, okay, I'm good at this, I'm good at that, what positives you have, what skills you have. Are you just a good person? Are you generally you look out for the people around you, you're trying to help other people, you're working toward your own goals, you're trying to better yourself, maybe you're trying to eat better, have a better diet, maybe taking supplements, maybe you're working out, getting exercise, trying to get out in nature more, try to do more stuff, maybe try to travel a little bit just for the sake of broadening your horizons or something, things like that. And kind of take that to heart a little bit. Maybe you're a little worldly, you've got some experience, you've been around the block a few times, various different environments and people, and you know, you're kind of becoming a well-rounded person, like, dude, build on that. Seriously, like, all that kind of develops your character, and from your character, you know, your values, that right there should really be enough to build your own psychology, your own self-confidence and self-worth around. And everything after that is just, you know, shit that you like, shit that you want, shit that you have. Pardon my language, probably going to swear a bunch in this one because I'm just kind of going off the cuff. But so from there, one thing that so many guys kind of base their own self-worth off of is women. And let's be honest, you know, we're biologically wired to want companionship, to be with somebody, or maybe to be with a whole bunch of people. You know, you do you. But the first thing you really gotta learn, because, you know, what society has kind of programmed us a certain way, and there's a difference between, you know, being a good guy and, you know, being chivalrous, if you will, and being a simp. And it kind of blows my mind how much kind of simping has just pervaded Western society. So the first thing you want to do is just flat out stop chasing women. I'm not saying not to talk to any. I'm not saying to try to go on dates or meet people or anything like that. Stop chasing. And what I mean by that is, don't think every single place you go, don't be on the hunt, you know, looking for a potential mate, if you will. Like, don't, you know, think about every time you see somebody that's pretty, you want to go up and you want to get their number and you want to talk to them and you want to go further from there. You know, you're not constantly looking for somebody to take home, if you will. Rather than that, try to chase a good life. Try to chase that fulfillment for yourself. And from there, just let the rest come to you. I know a lot of people talk about that with the like the law of attraction thing, which maybe I don't know, I'll dig into a little bit further later on. It's been a while since I really got on that one. But yeah, just kind of stay focused on what you need to be doing, what you want to be doing, where you want to get to. Because I can tell you firsthand, like, dude, I've wasted plenty of time, like years, you know, being worried about being in a relationship or even trying to get into a relationship. And you got to keep in mind, like, especially the single guys out there, you know, chasing women is a use of your time and energy. And so I reached a point where I was thinking about it. I'm like, do I really want to spend my time and energy, my personal capital, on, you know, constantly looking for somebody, constantly dating, like even in cases where I'm kind of like, you know, right off rip. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, so I'm like, I'm going to get pickier. And, you know, I've had enough girlfriends at this point. I'm not trying to find somebody different every week or somebody to go out with every weekend or something. Like, I really need to take the time to work on my shit, to narrow down the goals that I have and start pushing for them. So whether it be, you know, trading or, you know, getting back into coding or making sure to do a good job at work, you know, trying to work out better myself or trying to make sure that I, you know, get outside, go hiking and things like that. And then in between then, you know, just as you're walking your way through your day, through life, you know, if you come across people, by all means, you say, hey, how's it going? Maybe strike up a conversation or something. But at the same time, like, don't be the hungry puppy. You know, if you're going to the bar or club or something like that, like, trust me, everybody there can kind of guess what you're there for just by watching you or just looking at you, and especially women. So they know if you're there for the sole reason of trying to pick up a girl, it's generally pretty obvious. Like, that's the only thing you're looking at. That's what you're focused on. You're not really having a good time. You're just like, you know, you're like a hunter in a deer blind waiting for a deer to come walking by. Rather than doing all that, you know, go with your dudes, go out, go there for the sake of having fun and just have a blast. You know, forget the chicks for a minute, and you'd be surprised sometimes how much you might end up meeting and talking to somebody just in the course of going there just to have a good time. Like I've had it happen more times than I even believed probably should have happened. And like on the most off chance things too, like going on a Thursday night, you know, worked, what was it, like 12-14 hours that day. I'm like, man, screw this, I'm going there, I'm going to get some wings, grab a couple beers. And I don't even do that very often, and somehow end up sitting next to this girl, ended up talking, like I paid more attention to the TV than I did her, even though, you know, still having the conversation. And yeah, somehow it just happens. Next thing you know, waking up somewhere else the next morning. But and not in a bad way. I didn't get blackout or anything like that. But you know, just do you and focus on doing your thing. And a lot of the time, women, particularly, you know, more intelligent women, will pick up on that. They'll be like, oh, this dude, he's confident, he has his, you know what, together. Like he's not doing the hungry puppy thing. He's not trying to hump my leg, you know, from the next bar stool over. And it's just a turnoff, you know. I mean, like the more you try to push up on something, seems like the more the universe pushes back. Whereas you're like, you know what, screw this. I'm cutting my own lane. I'm gonna do my thing, and you know, next thing you know, like things just get attracted to you. But I digress a little bit. Now, in order to do this, in order to kind of cultivate that self-confidence, you're gonna have to practice. And practicing inside your house, you know, it might be good to kind of, you know, think about it, psych yourself up a little bit, but at a certain point, you got to go out into the world. You know, you got to be like King Leonidas when he was a kid, where they tossed him out into the wilderness, and eventually the wolf tried to corner him, and he, you know, stuck the spear down there and speared the wolf and came back with his pelt. You know, eventually you're going to have to go out into the wild, and you're going to have to be a man. And by that, I don't mean going up to the bar, buying a drink, sitting there, scoping it out, finding a chick, and then building up the nerve to go over and say hi or something like that. It's so unnatural. Like, rather than that, just normal stuff. When you go to the grocery store, say hi to every single person you walk by. It might sound crazy. Maybe, you know, that's not you. You're not really the sociable type or something like that. Even more reason to go do it. I swear on everything. Like, most people who know me now wouldn't even believe, like, back in the day, I was, like, maybe not so shy, but definitely a quiet type. Like, I was the thinker more than the talker. Despite the fact that I can talk my ass off, which, literally doing things like this is the reason that I'm so damn comfortable about talking my ass off all the time now. But practice that. Like, make it a game. Because let's face it, like, who cares what strangers think? Most of them, you're never going to see them again. They're probably not ever going to think about you again. They're not going to call you out. They're not going to punch you in the face. Like, literally nothing bad is going to happen from just saying, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's up? How's your day going? Little things like that. And you would be surprised how many people naturally, like, light up and they'll be like, hey, no, it's going good. Like, how are you doing today? Like, I was just walking the dog earlier, and I had 3 people that, I mean, I said hi to more than 3 people, but 3 people, you know, said it back. Like, hey, how's it going? How you doing? Like, even get into these short little conversations. Like, oh, yeah, no, just got back in town from being up north for a couple weeks. And like, oh, how was it? And then you get better at it. You get better at talking to people. You get better at talking to random strangers. And it goes from this, like, kind of being nervous to, like, talking out in public type thing to being curious, like, where a random conversation might go. And, you know, you don't have to ramble your ass off. Don't necessarily come off as selfish. Kind of reciprocate a little bit. Like, you know, how are you doing? And, like, pick up on the little cues. Like, they're just like, okay, then all right. And they're probably not a super talkative person. But if they're like, oh, a long day or something like that, like, oh, wow, where do you work at? And just practice. Like a grocery store is a great chance to do that, because you might come across 30 people and you'd be surprised. I mean, I will bet you at least 10 will be more than a single exchange little conversation. Like, even if it's just, you're standing there, you know, you're looking at the, I don't know, the friggin' bread aisle or something like that, and there's a person 2 feet to your left looking at it, trying to find what they're looking for. And, you know, just, who knows, maybe say something. Maybe you're like, oh, hey, you never tried that one before? Like, that's the best one on the shelf right there. And just little things like that, and you'll be surprised. But in just doing that, like, having it like a game in your head, like every time you do that, you're gonna feel like this little bit of accomplishment, this little bit of like, damn, okay, yeah, I did it, that wasn't so bad, that wasn't so scary. And it'll pump you up a little bit more, to the point where then when you apply that, you know, at some point to, oh man, you see a girl and you want to get her number, you're already used to striking it up with random people. And at that point, then you just have to remember not to treat it differently. You know, keep it casual, keep it random, like it was some, you know, 50-year-old balding pot-bellied dude at the grocery store. Like the same thing, like, hey, what's up, man? I mean, maybe, you know, don't necessarily call her man, but you get what I'm saying. But yeah, you kind of have to overcome that social programming that somehow most of us have gotten, where it's, you know, just be quiet, you know, stay in your lane, be meek, you know, don't talk to the scary stranger over there. Like, nah, fuck that. First off, you know, if you are a man and you are confident, why not? Like, what, you know, they're not going to kidnap you. You know, they're not going to throw you in the van and, you know, sell you off in some Middle Eastern country. Like, what the hell are you worried about? Like, you know, and the worst thing maybe you'll get is maybe it is a pretty girl or something like that. And I know guys so much nowadays are afraid to look like a creeper. And believe me, I get it. I get it. I'm still working on it myself, because, you know, the climate that has come about these days, it's so common that, you know, girls are so quick, like in real life, to like, oh no, why are you talking to me? That kind of thing, you know what I mean? And so, fuck it, who cares? So even if they say nothing at all, just give you a weird look and walk away. Like, honestly, at this point, like, if somebody does that for me, like, I usually have a smart ass comment. I'm like, oh, have a fucking nice day too. Like, whatever. I don't know. Worst case, maybe it hits something in their brain and they're like, oh, I guess I was kind of being a dick. And maybe the next person they won't be so cold shouldered to. Who knows? But at the same time, you know, it kind of gives you the last word, and it kind of makes you feel like, ah, fuck it, you know, it's not me, it's them. They're the one that's got issues. But again, you know, who cares what strangers might think? You're never going to see them or talk to them again. And you will learn something from each encounter. Just whether it is, you know, your preconceived notions about the person. Maybe you're like, oh, this person's going to be standoffish, and oh, they end up being super friendly. Or, you know, maybe you see some girl who's like, oh, she kind of looks stuck up, like, oh, I don't even want to bother. And, you know, maybe just that resting bitch face keeps everybody away, and you're like the first person to just like randomly talk to her in like a month. Who knows? And you know, I've seen the face flip from like looking like they're in a bad mood to smiling and, hey, yeah, I'm doing all right. Like, you never know. But it takes practice. So just practice it. Just, you know, just keep going with it. Just make it into a game if you have to. Like, and you could literally do that with anything in life. Anything you're like afraid to do or something, gamify it. Just like they talk about with crypto and NFTs and stuff, gamify it. Yeah, make it this little challenge in your head. Make it a little game. Like, all right, count points for the day if you have to. See how many people you could get to ask you how your day was. You know, without being forceful. You know, you gotta be sly about it. Be smooth. Don't be fucking weird about it. But, you know, how many people that, you know, you ask how's your day going, and they ask you back at the end of the day, like, damn, I got like 20 people ask me how my day was. Like, that was cool. Just find an excuse. And in the process of doing all this, you will become a little bit more confident, a little bit more self-assured, a little more comfortable with talking to people. And in the course of that, it's like I said, it's going to carry over into other things too. Like when you go and sit down and you're looking at trades, you know, you're not going to be so timid, and maybe you have a little bit more confidence in yourself and be like, all right, you know, I've been making it happen lately. Like, just I'm pumped up, I'm in a good mood, the endorphins are flowing. You sit down and you're like, oh, I don't know, man, it looks like it's about to pump. Like, fuck it, go in. Same way you go in with saying hi to some random stranger on the sidewalk. You know, go in on the trade. But you know, moving on from that, the next kind of aspect that I would mention is don't let people walk over you. And this one usually tends to go more for relationships. I mean, it could be for like friendships and stuff too with other dudes, but especially these days, you know, do not let women use you or walk over you. Comes back to the self-worth thing, especially if, let's say you're doing real good at trading and you've got some money. Triply so, doubly so, 100ly so. Do not let, you know, women just use you for the money. I don't care if you think you are the ugliest mofo in the world, and you know, if you think you're a 2 and you've got like a 7, you know, texting and calling you and oh, you want to go to the mall and go shopping or something like that. No, you got to have more self-worth, more self-respect than that, because that is going to drag you down faster than anything else. Because first off, you are hitching your self-worth onto another person, and let me tell you, that's the last thing you want to do. You know, I'm sure there's probably some like married dudes watching this, and it's a little bit easier in that circumstance, especially if you know your wife or your partner, and you know they're out for your best interests and they're trying to help build you up. That's a different story. But you know, girlfriends, relationships, just meeting people, or even girlfriends you might have had for 3 years or something, and usually you've seen some red flags. And you just do not lie to yourself. Do not ignore the red flags. Oh, well, I know she kind of treats me like crap, and she's always on her phone. I think she's texting other dudes, but she's so hot, and you know, I could never get another girl that's that hot. Oh, for the love of God, do not do that. Like, trust me, it is not worth it. At that point, you want to talk about making a game out of things. Make a game out of being able to let her go. Being able to be like, oh, okay, like about to go hang out with your dude friends. Well, you know what? Don't come back. You know, either that or think of a funny way to do it. But seriously, cut it loose. It's not worth wasting the time of your life, the years of your life, on something that is not truly fulfilling, and a relationship that you know is not. It's not going to be marriage material. It's not going to last forever. Like the last 3 relationships I was in, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm not going to lie to myself. Like, I know this is not going to be a long-term thing. Like, there's some immaturity and selfishness there and this and that. I've seen it. I can't ignore it. So I got to bite the bullet and just like, you know what? I'm moving out. I mean, I may not have said it as blunt as all that, but you get the point. But yeah, do not let these women walk over you, especially with the, you know, some of them all pumped up with the girl power and I'm a feminist and I pretend to want equality, but really I want you to do everything and you got to pay for everything and you got to take care of me. And when you're like, oh, what do I get in return? Well, you get me. You get the pleasure of being able to say you're my boyfriend, even though, you know, half the time they're probably talking to fucking 10 other dudes. But just, and again, go and watch. You could see a lot of that over here on Arako's channel, and you could see a lot of these cases where you get like, especially some of these what was it, like ruin a relationship in 60 seconds thing, where some dude walks up and there'll be a couple on the sidewalk and it'll be like, all right, switch phones. And be like, all right, show, look through each other's Snapchat. And they'll go through it, and like every time dude would be like, who the fuck is this? Like, and she'd be like, oh, that's my ex-boyfriend. Be like, what? Like, why is he giving you money? So like, it's a fine line thing. So again, but you don't want to be like this over jealous person, because jealousy really just stems from a lack of self-confidence and a lack of self-worth. If you can't trust the person you're with, why are you with them? In some cases, dudes might say, well, you're with it for the sex. I get that, but at that point, you should be confident enough and be man enough to set clear boundaries, clear definition of what that relationship is. Don't just string her along and act like you're going to marry her, when in reality, you're just kind of sticking with her until something better comes along. And, you wouldn't like it if a woman did it to you. And honestly, you should reach a point of maybe not necessarily brutally honest, but honest enough to be real about what it is. What are you thinking? How do you feel about the situation? Like, seriously, like at this point, like given my past, I used to be a world championship liar. And I swear, living 3 different lives, and I never even mixed it up. Like, beast at it, doing all kind of bad stuff. But after stopping all that, one of the big things was like working on honesty, and it was a hard thing to reach, but I reached a point where, fuck it, you know what, I don't care. I have no reason not to be, and I'm not afraid to be honest. So whether it's a relationship or this or that or the other, like I'll be straight up right off rip. Like, if I'm not looking for a long-term relationship at the time, like I will say it on day one. Or if I think there's a potential for it, I'm not just gonna come out and say it all like that at the beginning. But if it's just a one-night stand and you feel like that's kind of what it is, then set that boundary from the beginning. Don't get hemmed up into something that ends up lasting longer and longer and longer because you're afraid to call it what it is. But again, that all stems from just having the confidence to be honest, to just lay it down, like lay down the law, say, all right, this is what it is. In cases of, if your girl's got talking to 5 ex-boyfriends and going out clubbing every weekend with her friends and acting like she's single. I mean, at a certain point, you got to be like, hey, you know what? Like, especially if you don't like that, you don't appreciate that, or you're worried, or you're kind of thinking something might be going on. Like, don't wait until it builds up and then flip out. Don't get all emotional. Don't act like a high school teenager. Just right there on the spot, be like honestly, like I'm not comfortable with that. And whether she puts up a fight or respects your position, kind of go from there. But build yourself up. Be a strong man, because especially these days, it's a big movement trying to bring back strong men. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you got to be like a bodybuilder or that kind of strong, like mentally strong men. So, don't fall for that toxic masculinity crap. Be reliable, take care of yourself, be constantly improving yourself, and constantly working toward your own goals. Don't let anybody grab your coattails and hold you back from it. Now, I'm not saying, if you've got a wife or a girlfriend that you just, throw it to the side and just 24/7 all day doing what you want to do. Don't be selfish, but don't let them stop your progress. Set aside time where like, all right, hey, stuff's popping right now. Like, I got to go do some trading, or, it's time to do homework, or I'm teaching myself how to do something, or I'm brushing up on researching some shit. Like, whatever it is, make sure to have that time for yourself. If the person you're with can't respect that, then they really don't respect you enough, and that's what it is. But and like I said, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go all full selfish. You could still, be good to the people who treat you the same. If you have a girl who is like, oh yeah, do what you got to do. Like, you know, work on what you're working on. Like, go try to get better at this, or yeah, go to the gym. Like, I'll go with you. Like, by all means, if somebody is by your side, helping support you, do the same back. You know, tell her, you know, whatever it is. Maybe she wants to get better at doing something, or maybe she, you know, if all she wants to do is just hang on to you, be around you, constantly text you like every hour of the day, maybe on the sly, try to hide it, like sneak in there something like, hey, you know what, maybe you should find something you like to do, find a hobby or something like that. Or you know, if you're going to the gym, try to get her to come to the gym with you. You know, be smooth about it, and you'll be surprised, and then you'll both be happier for that, because you're not 100% dependent on each other. And yeah, just avoid those selfish, narcissistic people. You know, if they're just there to get something out of you, cut them off. Flat out. Like, it can be hard. Maybe it's somebody you rode with since you were kids or something like that, but you've always kind of had the feeling like it's always them asking you for a ride, or always them asking you for money or something like that. Just, it's not hard to say no. But and that's about it. I mean, just act as though you're worth $50 million. Puff yourself up. Be a badass. You know, walk tall. And just remember, especially with the dating thing, you know, the woman needs to bring something to the table too. It can't just be, you know, you pay for everything, you do everything, you come up with all the ideas, you take yourselves places. You know, it can't just be one-sided. Like, and her being pretty is not enough. Like, you want somebody that is going to support you, help you, and who is willing to, you know, at least do something to support herself too. You know, because it's one thing to want to be a stay-at-home mom, which is awesome, but at the same time, like, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the selfish ones, you know, the gold diggers and all that stuff. Nah, that day's dead. Like, strong men, we ain't doing that shit anymore. But other than that, again, I'm telling you, go check out Arako. You will not be disappointed. It's very entertaining. And just remember, practice. Practice, 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 practice. Make a game out of it. Say hi to every single person you pass. Every person. Don't discriminate. Doesn't matter. Male, female, hot, ugly. Does not matter. Old, young. I mean, you know, be careful. I wouldn't go striking up conversations with little kids. They're going to think you're a real creeper at that point. But at the same time, you can always kind of just smile, say hi, and be on your way. But do it. Quit slacking. You know, you're not getting any younger. The world's not getting any easier. So you got to become tougher. You got to become harder. You got to be more confident. You got to make it happen. Because it's definitely not getting easier out there. So I'm going to leave it at that. Keep coming back. I love you. And getting a little bit of red candles right here. But we'll see what happens. It's the evening. It ain't going to be much. But go check out the other trading psychology videos if you found it interesting, or check out tutorials if you're only here for the trading stuff. I imagine if you are, you're not even reaching this part of the video yet, but love you. Peace.